All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people, just like you and just like me. Want to thank all the new subscribers who are coming on board, who are supporting the channel. It's much appreciated. I know I took some risks switching gears a little bit, but this is why a few days ago I got to talk to Ted Nugent, because I decided that there are certain things in life that are worth defending. And even though I love to talk about music, it can kind of all blend together. And a few weeks ago, I wanted to address this. And for some reason, I didn't, because I thought to myself, well, she's kind of old and she's more of a pop diva. And why should I get involved in this? But I've decided to do some later in the game analysis of Bette Midler's commentary about West Virginia. If you forgot about what Bette Midler said, I can refresh here for you. She said that West Virginians were poor, illiterate, and strung out. And all of this has to do with Senator Joe Manchin, who decided that he wanted to actually represent his state, and he did not want to vote for a multi-trillion-dollar spending bill. Now, if you have a brain and you've been paying attention to what's been happening, you understand that our country is now $30 trillion in debt. And we are going to put another quote-unquote infrastructure bill out there to bail out mostly blue areas of the country so they can continue to spend, and there is no repercussions for their recklessness. That's what this is all about. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're uninformed or misinformed. Okay. So Bette Midler, who's had quite a good life, has had a pretty decent movie and music career. I believe she spent some time also on Broadway. So again, she's one of these West Coast thinkers, right? Or I don't know if thinking is the right word, but she muses about things, and then apparently she decides to post things on Twitter, much like Richard Marx did when he was talking about Senator Rand Paul. And he said some disgusting, hideous things which really should be condemned. And Bette Midler just did the same thing. Now, even if I were to analyze her statement and say, these are a bunch of backwoods hillbillies, they're all strung out. Well, guess who brought all kinds of substances to the people of West Virginia? Big Pharma. Yep, Big Pharma. You should go watch the movie Dope Sick, all right? And I know some people don't necessarily agree in the sense that all opioids aren't bad, blah, blah, blah. They made a highly addictive product, and that they didn't tell people it was highly addictive. They lied. And if you want to know why a few of those West Virginians are strung out, well, you can probably find that out by doing a little bit of research and maybe knocking on the door of somebody over at Purdue Pharma. So her comments are ridiculous. She's also saying that because Joe Manchin represents a small population, smaller than Brooklyn, New York, and what he has done to the rest of America, who wants to move forward, not backward like his state, is horrible. If you think the last 30 to 40 years is moving forward, with a little interruption here and there. I mean, the last guy who was president, right, who I'm sure Bette isn't a big fan of, well, I think he did a little bit better at stabilizing the economy, gas price. See, here's the thing. Rich elite people don't care how much a gallon of gas ends up costing. Whereas, people who live out in the woods in West Virginia, these poor illiterate people, they really do care about how much gas costs. And by the way, these so-called poor illiterate and strung out people, that she was referring to. Those are the people that help keep her lights on, that help keep her garbage disposal working, who help fix her air conditioning system when it breaks. Those are the people who show up at all hours when you're inconvenienced and fix things that break. Those are the people that put trucks on the road every single day and carry that supply chain, which has been broken now for months and months. They pick it up and they move it, and then they go back and then they do it again. And oftentimes, without a whole lot of rest, they don't live the greatest lifestyle, but they make all kinds of sacrifices. So princesses like Bette Midler, can have hot water, or who they can eat their lobster or whatever it is that they're feasting on, whereas everybody else has to worry from week to week, maybe month to month, if they're lucky, about, if they're going to make ends meet. So this complete lack of understanding. And let's just get into economics for a moment, shall we? $30 trillion in debt. Manchin's like, no, I can't do this. This is just irresponsible. By the way, he's representing the people that he, where he lives. He's actually representing those people, which is unusual. By the way, he's a Democrat. So again, this isn't the evil, Republican Party. This isn't the orange man tag team thing. This is just a guy who's kind of a centrist, which is very unusual today. I'm not saying I agree with his politics or anything, but he took a stand. And you've got this person who really doesn't matter in the larger scheme of things, taking to Twitter and just blasting people that she's never met. And even the governor of West Virginia did like this mini State of the Union thing where he got up there and blasted Midler back, said, look, I've really enjoyed her music over the years, Wind Beneath My Wings. He told a little story about how that song was used in a eulogy or something. I can't remember the entire story he told, but it was a heartfelt story. But then he came back and said, look, this is ridiculous. I mean, why would you attack an entire state? Now, she mentions the population between, say, Brooklyn, New York, and the entire state of West Virginia. And this is the problem that we have moving forward. And it's really difficult to overcome this problem, that the cities are, because of their dense population, the cities are controlling the politics of the suburbs, and even very rural areas. They're not even close to where the city is. A lot of people will move out to the suburbs to get away. The people in West Virginia, this is their life. It's backwoods, it's mountains, it's hills. It's living off the land in many cases. And many of these urban dwellers, even though they all talk about, sustainable this and sustainable that, they have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, the people who till the land, who work the land, those are the people who know how to treat the land, not some city dwellers who are creating millions of pounds of toxic waste every day, some of which ends up in the sewer system. And now you've got this stuff called biosludge, which is the most disgusting thing on the planet. But these people, they don't have a solution to the problem except, hey, let's take it out to the farms and spray all the crops with it. I mean, this is just, it's totally out of control. But Bette Midler has no perception of what a working class person is dealing with, or what they have to go through each day to just exist and just to do what they have to do. By the way, those people don't complain about their problems. They just want Washington, D.C. to stay out of their way. We don't want your stimulus money. We don't want trillions in debt for our state and our county and cross the entire fruited plain, as a wise man once opined. This is just a real disconnect. And of course, she had to come back and apologize, because even some of the people in her, circle of idiots said, look, that's crazy. What are you doing? I mean, she's 76 years old. Is it bitterness? I mean, and all these people share the same monolithic ridiculous political views. They don't do any critical thinking. All they know is they want to, to see the government spend money on green infrastructure, which isn't a thing. Okay. Solar panels, do they work? Sure. How are you going to drive a car with solar panels? No, Dave, you charge the battery. And where does the electricity come from? And what happens when the sun goes down or goes behind a cloud? And what happens when the wind stops blowing? And these people just think, hey, some smart person will come along and they'll fix everything and they'll do it and we'll pay them to do it. And we need to, get away from coal. Again, West Virginia, the coal industry. I mean, they've been trying to bankrupt that industry for years. Funny how they don't care about what China does with coal, though, or what Russia does with coal, but they really care about what the United States. It's like we're doing a self-inflicted injury, and this person has no clue as to what she's saying. And this is one of those cases where, look, Bette, can I call you Bette? It's time to do the dignified retirement, because everybody's, saying this about Eric Clapton, right? Because he's not saying the right things. So they want Eric to do the dignified retirement. And I say, Bette Midler, of all people, she needs to do a dignified retirement because she doesn't know what she's talking about, and it's just sad because a lot of these people probably grew up listening to some of this music. I would say they're probably more into country and blues and real Americana music, not this synthetic pop garbage, with all apologies to Arif Mardin, the late great, who produced Bette Midler, some of her stuff, and who was kind of a genius, kind of a David Foster type character. But, these people, they're not concerned about the thoughts of a West Coast lunatic. What they're concerned about is keeping their families fed and being a good neighbor and following the good book and doing what's right for the most part. And this strung out thing, you can blame Purdue Pharma for that stuff. All you got to do is watch the movie Dope Sick, which is a really great movie, and it's completely eye-opening. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. To say a product isn't addictive, right? We've got the magic bean formula here and it's fine. And then a whole bunch of people get addicted to it. And then you just run interference for your lies and you just make up stories. And the movie is pretty clear as to what happens to people who are told one thing and then they believe it. And we're living through that right now, by the way, in a much bigger way when it comes to the never-ending thing-demic, right? It's the same thing. And it's the same people who are telling you lies. They just have gotten more creative as time has gone by. So anyway, really despicable behavior. And yes, she did apologize, and at least she did that. So kudos to her for doing that. A lot of these people, I never heard Richard Marx apologize for his remarks about Rand Paul, who's now, I think, almost lost his life twice. He was playing softball one time, and I think a bullet missed him by 10 feet. And then one of his colleagues was hit. Scalise, I think his name is, Steve Scalise. And then at his house, somebody jumped him and broke a few bones, I think ribs and stuff. And imagine being under that much of a threat and living your life looking over your shoulder, wondering if somebody was going to try to hurt you. And this is the daily life of a guy like Rand Paul, and maybe even Joe Manchin now, because he took a stand. So anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel. Please subscribe as we approach 50,000 subscribers, and I'll see you soon.